When Tarkin came to assess the clone trooper program after Order 66, he ran a battery of tests on the clone commando unit known as the Bad Batch, or Clone Force 99. While Tarkin found the clones to be a bit too independent-minded for his taste, he did acknowledge their very potent combat abilities. Unfortunately, the Bad Batch would not choose to stay around and continue to serve the Empire, leaving a vacuum in the Imperial Special Forces community. See, Clone Force 99 wasn't just any Special Forces unit, it was a commando unit. This was a heavily armed and armored unit that was designed to independently operate behind enemy lines and make it back alive. It's one of the most demanding roles within the Special Forces community, and it comes to no surprise that the Bad Batch were specially mutated in order to be able to survive the harsh environments and situations they were placed in. Now, the Bad Batch were skilled individually, but far more important was their camaraderie. Like the generic clone commandos that they were modeled after, the individual clones were very formidable, but together they were unbreakable. It was always about redundancy and teamwork with Clone Force 99, and all of their skills complement each other very well. And that kind of captures the spirit of the clone their unit was named after, 99. This was a disfigured clone janitor who had more than made up for his physical ailments with his heart and determination during the Battle of Kamino. Clone Force 99 left a huge impression on the Empire and Moff Wilhuff Tarkin, and so it's not surprising that more than a decade later, another small commando unit would appear called Task Force 99. Otherwise known as SCAR Squadron, this unit was made up of SCAR Troopers, which stand for Special Commando Advanced Recon. Modeled after Clone Force 99, Task Force 99 expanded the size of these commando units from 4 to 7. Each one of these troopers had their own specialization, armor, and weapons. Today we're going to take a closer look at Task Force 99 and compare it to the unit that inspired its creation. Before we continue today's video, a quick word from our sponsor, Skillshare. Nowadays, influencers, both big and small, are peddling all sorts of get-rich-quick schemes, fake currencies, mentorships, animal-based social hierarchies, and it's all pretty much a scam. I mean, there are no shortcuts in life to happiness and success, and you probably won't find it on YouTube if there was. But the one thing that's always driven me in the right direction over the course of my career in life is finding a way to feed my natural curiosity for knowledge. There's nothing more fulfilling in life than learning new skills and using those skills to create value and opportunities for yourself. And unlike a 4-year school or a certificate program, both of which are really great things if you have the money and time for it, Skillshare takes full advantage of the internet's ability to bring knowledge, skills, and lessons to the masses in a quick and easy to digest fashion, and more importantly, for a very affordable price. Maybe you're not really happy with what you're earning at your job right now, and you've heard that the data science and analysis profession has a lot of opportunities. Well, you can take a beginner's course in SQL and see if it's something that fits your skill set or interest. Or maybe you're already working in a STEM-related field and you want to try your hand in something artistic, like learning how to sing. Skillshare has it all, and for me, as a small business owner who does everything from reading and commenting to your comments to fighting off dolphin-related defamation lawsuits, time management is something I desperately need. I don't know if I'll ever get my weekends back, but hey, there's a course for it. The first step in improving your own life is just having the courage to try. And right now, Skillshare is giving everyone a 7-day free trial and an additional 20% off of your first year subscription should you choose to go through with the program. I highly recommend you guys try it out risk-free for 7 days. I'll link it down in the description below for those who are interested. Thank you for your patience. On to the rest of the video. So at the core of the Bad Batch is their leader. In a group of already pretty badass soldiers, the non-com in charge has to be a special type of individual who can not only win the respect of his squaddies, but also figure out how to keep them from pointing their weapons at each other and at the enemy instead. For the Bad Batch, that leader is Hunter, a clone with augmented senses which allow him to perceive electromagnetic frequencies that was very helpful for detecting droids at a distance and also for navigation. Hunter was a relatively gruff and quiet individual. He let his actions on the battlefield do the talking. He was a natural leader and didn't dispense in unnecessary orders or chatter. As far as his fighting style goes, Hunter is probably one of the most aggressive clone commanders we've ever seen. He almost has Anakin levels of reckless abandonment, which really does suit the Bad Batch's style. Yet what really makes Clone Force 99 special is actually Hunter's very clear moral compass. His fellow squaddies Wrecker, Tech, and Echo also have their own beliefs, but it's really Hunter's strong bond with Omega and his protective nature that ultimately leads to the Bad Batch leaving the Empire. Task Force 99's equivalent to Hunter is another very special individual named Sergeant Crell. Krell's view on the Empire was quite different from the experience of most rebels. He grew up on the chaotic planet known as Chargar 9. It was chaotic because the Republic failed in its duties to basically secure the region and bring prosperity and economic development there. Char 9 was full of death and destruction as a result. The main source of entertainment there, and also income on the planet, were fighting pits. Creel saw his first death at the young age of 4 shortly after he saw his own father and mother die in the fighting pits, and he would follow suit, except he would become a really good fighter, and he would try to fight his way towards freedom. But before that happened, the Empire arrived on the planet, and Creel would see his first white-clad stormtrooper, and he fell in love with them. Nothing on Char 9 was as clean as their gleaming plastoid armor. And when the stormtroopers overthrew the local pit bosses and ended all the gladiator games, freeing all the slaves that were fighting in there, including Creel, the young man for the first time in his life found himself without chains, and immediately joins the Imperial Academy. And soon after, he graduates as a sergeant within the 501st Legion, Vader's Fist. Krell was an excellent fighter, having been trained to fight to the death with melee weapons since a very young age. He also preferred using a lightsaber that he had stolen while undercover as a slave for Gracchus the Hutt. Creel would be one of the first dueling partners that Luke Skywalker would face early on in his career. Creel's experience at the time was more than enough to allow him to hold his own against the very force-sensitive Luke Skywalker. Which is really not surprising. I mean, Creel's childhood was so terrible that everything he experiences with Task Force 99 was probably a cakewalk. I mean, when he gets his arm pinned under some machinery during one of his missions, Creel just casually cuts his arm off in order to free himself. Now that's dedication to a cause. I just hope his squaddies also feel that way. Because technically speaking, Sergeant Creel is still in a probationary period right now. He's just replaced the former sergeant in command of Task Force 99, and so his unit is still testing him, which is why when a Dianaga attacks him on one of these missions, his unit only watches as he struggles to get himself free. I guess this was a way for him to prove his own worth. The Bad Batch's heavy weapons expert and demolitions guy is known as Wrecker. Task Force 99 also has 2 individuals that fits that role. First, we have Zook, who is the squad's brawler. This guy is massive and about the same size as Wrecker, which means he's capable of holding his own in a wrestling match with Chewbacca, which is quite impressive. But not as impressive as Wrecker wrestling a baby Rancor. That's some next level nonsense. Zook also went into battle with a giant mortar on his back for a bit more firepower. The second heavy weapons expert is an individual known as Shrap, short for shrapnel, I'm guessing. He was a normal-sized man, and he always carried with him a flamethrower, which was useful for close-range engagements and toasting Jedi. He also was an explosives expert. The only member of the Bad Batch team that would stay with the Empire was Crosshair, and he had a very steadfast belief in stability and peace that the Empire could bring to the galaxy. He was a crack shot and oftentimes used reflectors and was able to use one sniper bolt to kill multiple combatants. In Task Force 99, we have Misty, a stormtrooper sniper. He could be identified by his poncho and hood, which did a good job at concealing his bright white armor that he wears. Misty was a very arrogant individual. He believed that his rebel counterparts were way below him when it came to skill. Then you had Echo and Tech, 2 clones that served as support for the Bad Batch. Tech is always staring down on his wrist computer and calculating the odds of their success, which a lot of times depended on his ability to manipulate the various computer systems they encountered. Then you have Echo, who has slowly been recovering from being turned into a cyborg. He now has a utility jack instead of a hand, and he's a pretty good all-around combatant. He formerly was an ARC trooper during the Clone Wars. Task Force 99 has Mike, who is an expert computer slicer. He was terrific at breaking into rebel systems and creating havoc, although he was no match for R2-D2. But I'm pretty sure very few droids or humans are a match for R2-D2. Then you had Arrow, who was in charge of all transportation for Task Force 99. He could quickly hotwire and get any vehicle running within seconds. And when you needed to bug out, he was usually available with a stolen vehicle. Finally, you have Cav, who was technically the melee specialist in the unit. You can tell by the many knives he carries on his chest. In a way, he's just like Hunter when it comes to his combat skill set. And he also makes an excellent point man for Task Force 99's operations. Now, Task Force 99's larger unit size means that they can split up during operations. This gives other members of the team an opportunity to lead. It also makes Task Force 99 a lot more unpredictable and harder to fight. The unit also carried a very diverse inventory of weapons, equipment, and gear, which means that they basically had a solution to almost every problem or obstacle that got in their way. This made them very capable of carrying out their own operations deep behind enemy lines without any support, which is exactly what you want from a commando unit. I imagine that this unit will be increasingly important as the rebels become more and more bold in their attacks against the Empire. The Empire was never able to properly use their large and clumsy weapons like the Imperial-class Star Destroyer or AT-AT Walker against the nimble rebel forces. The rebel fleet was made up of snub fighters, and their commanders were masters of the hit-and-run attack. And so the rebels never stayed in place long enough for these larger, clumsy weapons to be used against them. Units like Task Force 99 were basically the only tools the Empire had outside of maybe the ISB, the Inquisitors, and some other specialized units that could attack the mobile Rebel fleets. Task Force 99 was able to wreak havoc against the Rebels in the same way that the small Rebel strike teams did to their ships and military bases. It's kind of nice seeing the Empire give the Rebels a taste of their own medicine. Given the effectiveness of Task Force 99, it would be very interesting to see them in action even earlier on in the war, and perhaps against Clone Force 99. I think they would match up very, very well. So there you have it, guys. That is my episode for today. Do you guys think that we'll see Task Force 99 in the upcoming season for the Bad Batch? We do know that they are operating roughly around 10 years after the events of that show, so maybe they're too young, but it would be really cool to see the Empire develop a program based on the Bad Batch. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. We'll be talking a lot about the Bad Batch in the coming months. Well, guys, my name's Alan, reminding you that my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy. I'll see you next time.